Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to the program, and we are now crossing over to Professor of Education, International Islamic University, Malaysia, the chairman of Al-Tawassul Foundation in Malaysia. He is Professor Dr. Dawood Al-Hidabi. We're going to be looking at the Yemeni crisis, and we are told that the Arab world's poorest country has been in the midst of a perpetual humanitarian disaster for years, and the situation is getting even worse. Professor, Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So where do we stand with the Yemeni crisis? Before we even respond to that, let's understand what is the issue in Yemen. It is, I understand, a civil war. What is the issue all about?
Well, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. Yemen, yes, it is undergoing at the moment a civil war among different factions of Yemenis, but it has been influenced by regional and international players. So people are fighting sometimes by proxy, and also there are some benefits for regional and international players. So it's unfortunate that the poorest country in the Arab world and one of the least developing countries in the world, and it is the more difficult crisis, humanitarian crisis in the whole of the world, as the United Nations stated in one of its reports.
Yemen is a neighbor to one of the richest countries in the Middle East, and that obviously Saudi Arabia. How are they supporting the Yemenis, or does this civil war suit their needs and their purposes? Or is it also, and the other statement being, is it about arms, sale of arms to the different factions, which is serving the interest of other groups?
I think it serves the interest, as I said, not only the regional groups, but also international groups. There is some sort of collaboration between regional and international players to perpetuate such kind of crisis.
There's also a problem with different factions within the Yemeni people. There's the issue around the Houthis and the Arabs. How's that playing out? What sort of support should the international community be giving to these people? Because it seems like some ethnic cleansing is also going on there, over and above the bigger picture.
It is, because there was a coup, a military coup supported by Iran, supporting Houthis to take over the government. And they have taken over the government, and other areas like Saudis and others supported the legal government, and the Yemenis started to fight each other. It is unfortunate, as I said. Now we have to call for ceasefire. We have to call for reconstruction of the country, and also to help Yemenis to live and to survive. Now people are suffering to survive. No food, no shelter, no water, no sewage system, no infrastructure, nothing. There are more than 4.5 million displaced people from the war zones. And there is one child die, under 5 years old, die every 10 minutes. Now, since I am connected to your program, there are 2 kids already died.
Yes, you are absolutely correct when you say that 4 million people have been devastated by this conflict. It's been a 6-year-long conflict, and it's displaced that many people. There's obviously the fear, or probably it's already happened, the issue around malnutrition. And it is said that 90% of the 30 million population is dependent on some sort of international food assistance. So seeing that almost the entire country is so entirely dependent on food aid and for upliftment of every possible kind. Why is the international community not stepping in and trying to resolve this issue?
I want to ask you, at what time the international community helped any country, by the way? Well, I'm not expecting the international countries will intervene to stop the war. Also, there are a lot of claims from different countries, but in actual fact, people are perpetuating the crisis. There are, as I said, interest groups, little tiny groups, whether international players or regional players, and everybody knows about it. Yet people are still suffering. To what extent? And they are going to continue begging for international donors to support their survival. I think I would blame first the international community and the regional community. That's number one. But also I have to call upon the Yemenis themselves to stand up and to solve their own problems. But unfortunately, with the intervention of regional and international players, does not help the Yemenis to sit together and talk about how to normalize the country's situation.
Okay, my final statement and question on this interview is, they are known to be the forgotten people, the poorest of the poor. They are terribly malnourished. How can the rest of the world and we here in South Africa support them? What's the campaign all about?
I think that's what I want to talk about. As a chairman of At-Tawasul Development Foundation in Malaysia, we have started a campaign called Help Yemen. This relief campaign is focusing on three main needs. Number one is food. And number two, health services, because more than 90% of the people, they cannot access health services at the moment. They cannot afford even to buy paracetamol. So the third one is shelter. In one area only, in Ma'rib, there are 2.6 million living in hot desert. So these three main needs are very critical, and people are in need of it. In addition, of course, to other things, clean water, infrastructure, education, and many other things. So people are really starving, and I think the Muslims everywhere and human beings everywhere in the world should come forward to support and fulfill the basic needs of survival.
And that's where we leave it. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We hope and pray that, inshallah, the plight of the Yemeni people, not only are they on the brink of starvation in the midst of a civil war, they are also having to contend with COVID-19. And it is said that 10 doctors serve over 100,000 people. Just try and equate that. It's absolutely shocking. So inshallah, let's hope and pray that common sense will prevail and the necessary aid reaches the poorest of the poor, and that is the Yemeni people. 8:52, in a minute or two, we're going to be joined by Shaheen Isup to talk about the Hajj and Umrah quota for 2021.